Hello everybody, and welcome back to Guide by Example. Today we are tackling Vardorvis. A quick look at the gear setup: I'm bringing Dragon Claws, a Divine, and the Arceus Spellbook. You can swap the Dragon Claws for a Void Waker or Burning Claws, or any special attack weapon for that matter. The important thing to note here is I am using Rancor, the Scythe, and a Berserker Ring. It is also very important that you are on the Arceus Spellbook. Something I wanted to bring up here was the amount of money you can make per hour. The wiki calcs this at 30 kills an hour, which assumes that you're doing 2-minute kills, when in reality we can do this a lot faster. So there's 3,600 seconds in an hour. If we divide by 120, we can see that we get the 30 kills per hour that the wiki lists. However, when I am killing it, I am often getting 80-second kills. That is my average, and if we go ahead and calc this out, we can see that it comes out to be 45. And if we plug this back into the wiki, we can see what our GP per hour would be. It would be about 15 million after tax and inputs, however 17 million before inputs. As we can see, this is a great money-making method if you can do it consistently and quickly. Moreover, in a worse gear setup that I test in this video, I average about 100-second kills, a minute 40. This brings our kills per hour to 36, so if we go ahead and type that in, we can see that we make 12 million GP per hour, and before inputs it's about 13 mil an hour. Great money-making method. I just wanted to point this out. Something I want to note here is that a lot of the GP per hour comes from the Soul Reaper Axe and the Ultor, so it's best if you are going to come here to stay for quite a while. If you do get a Soul Reaper Axe piece, I would recommend to go to the other Desert Treasure 2 bosses, as it is a very big payout. One last thing I want to mention before we get into it. There's a plugin you're going to want called Better NPC Highlight. With this plugin, you want to highlight true tile IDs. More specifically, you would like to highlight 12225, 12227, and 12226. 12225 is the axe, and 12227 and 12226 are the little orbed spawners that come out during the fight. Welcome to Vardorvis. The first thing we're going to do is summon a Thrall and dump one spec right off the rip. The reason we do this is because Vardorvis' defense is higher the more HP he has, and as his HP goes lower, his defense reduces. So the idea is to get his HP as low as possible, as quick as possible, so we do more DPS. The two main things to look out for are the axes and the orbs that spawn out of the ground. Since we've highlighted these with Better NPC Highlight, it should be easier to know when they are coming. With this next attack, you're going to have to solve a CAPTCHA. If you click the corner on the same tick that the axe does its first movement, you will skip the axe. With this attack, Vardorvis will spawn tendrils under you, 1 time, 2 times, and 3 times depending on his HP. When this happens, you want to step a tile down on his final movement when spawning a tendril. The orb attack for Vardorvis will always be range when fighting him normally. You need to have range prayer up the tick that the range orb hits you. When Vardorvis spawns an orb and an axe, be prepared to set up the axe skip. When the orb is coming at you, pray range, immediately pray back to melee, and perform your axe skip. This can be one of the most complex parts of Vardorvis, as it requires many actions in a single tick. This cross of highlighted tiles is very important, as if you always stand to the top east tile, you will never get hit by an axe right away, and this will set you up to skip any axe spawn. Eat to absolutely full, even over max. We want our HP to be as high as possible, so we eliminate the need for having to eat throughout the kill. We start off each kill on the east tile, summon a Thrall, and dump 1 spec. When axes spawn, they will travel in a straight line. If you spam click on Vardorvis as he's doing his animation, you can get an extra hit in during the CAPTCHA. With this cross of tiles, we can also skip the axe in the middle of the arena. Sometimes instead of needing to axe skip, you can move to a different tile in the cross to avoid axes altogether. There is an audio cue when the range projectile lands on you. I would highly recommend to use it to know when to switch back to melee. Solve the CAPTCHA as quickly as possible in order to negate all damage. That that was me doing the Vardorvis and the absolute max setup. Let me take it down a notch and show you a setup that is a little less over the top. The inventory is the same, we've just brought a Crystal Halberd instead of Dragon Claws. My weapon is an Abyssal Tentacle, and I am bringing Arania Boots, which is basically the same as Dragon Boots, and then no Blood Fury, just a normal Fury. The main difference between this setup and the other setup is kills are going to take a little bit longer. You're going to have to eat during the kill, as your HP probably won't sustain you throughout the whole thing, which just cuts into your profits per hour a tiny bit. Ideally here you'd like to start off with 1 Crystal Halley spec, maybe even 2 Crystal Halley specs, as if you keep up with Death Charge, you will continue to have enough spec kill over kill. Here I messed up and stepped under an axe, however since our true tiles were never on the same position at the same time, we did not take damage from that axe. Again, in order to perform axe skip, you need to move on the same tick that the axe does its first movement. Our goal here is to not have our true tiles line up. If you are on the edge of the arena when Vardorvis spawns tendrils, he will spawn them in the same spot. Once Vardorvis reaches about a quarter HP, it is a good time to Death Charge. In order to skip the axe from the top right, we will need to move to the corner, and then when the axe's true tile is 1 tile away from us, we will step back into the axe. Since we do not have the glorious defense of Torva, we're going to have to eat during this kill. Here I messed up and stepped out a tick too late during tendrils. You need to step on the same tick that Vardorvis executes his last tendril. Again, it is very important to eat to absolute max before you start the kill, as if you do not have to eat during the kill, you save ticks. 2 Challies, a Thrall, and back to Whip. Something else, you can stand in the positions where the axe spawn. When you are fighting the Awakened version of the boss, when the axe spawn they will do damage where their true tile currently is for a few ticks. However, in normal Vardorvis, you are safe to stand in a tile where the axe spawns. It will not damage you on spawn, however, it will only damage you when it begins to move. If you move around during tendrils, they can start spawning all over the place, which is unpredictable and an easy way to take a lot of damage. I can move to the middle in order to negate the 2 axe skips that would need to happen otherwise. During the Awakened version of this boss, the orbs that spawn that are normally a ranged prey can be mage or range. And following, once Vardorvis enters a certain HP in the Awakened version, these orbs will spawn 2 at a time, so you will have to flick mage, range, then back to melee, or range, mage, then back to melee. In the Awakened version, these flicks are 1 tick apart, essentially a Manticore from the Colosseum. One final thing I'd like to showcase is once you understand how this cross-highlighted pattern works, it applies to every pillar around the room. So you don't need to lock yourself to one corner. You can move freely around the room as long as you keep this cross in mind at each pillar. Once you get good enough at axe skip, this is great for moving around and saving ticks, where otherwise you would have to move in certain positions at certain times and lose ticks. could highlight each pillar's tiles, however, I feel like that would be a little too messy for this room. If you are killing the Awakened version, I would not recommend to move around the room like this. Rather, stay in one corner on one pillar, and it will help out a lot. The loot this time around has been lackluster, but I don't think I showcased any perfect kills. Once you get consistent at Vardorvis and cranking out perfect kills, you will often get drops that are worth quite a bit of money when compared to something like fire runes. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas on how to improve my methods here at Vardorvis, please leave a comment and let me know. I'm always curious on how to improve my gameplay. I'm going to continue to use these strategies in my quest to go for GM, and I will also continue to make these guides. Let me know what you'd like to see. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a great day.